What if I told you La Liga's greatest icon could be packing his bags for England? But Messi, the man who ruled Barcelona, haunted Madrid, and defined Spanish football, now linked with a Premier League loan that could flip the football world upside down. Critics say he can't survive England's pace, power, and pressure, and if they're right, his legacy takes a hit heard across the globe. But behind the rumours lies a hidden strategy, a reason this move could change everything we think we know about greatness. Because if this deal goes through, the truth behind Messi's biggest challenge is about to be revealed. We'll explain everything in this video step by step. Don't skip. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because the football world has just hit the red alert button. Madrid, Barcelona, Messi, and now the Premier League. Yes, you heard that right. In a twist nobody saw coming, whispers from behind closed doors are turning into full-blown shockwaves. Lionel Messi, the man who painted La Liga with magic for nearly 2 decades, is reportedly negotiating a loan move to England, and the giants of Europe are holding their breath. Think about it. Madrid watching from the shadows. Barcelona caught between emotion and reality. And Messi, calm, calculated, still chasing football in perfection. This isn't just a transfer rumour. This is legacy on the line. After conquering Spain, lifting every possible trophy, breaking records that still sound unreal, Messi now faces a new mountain. Faster tempo, harder tackles, rainy nights, packed stadiums roaring in a language that only elite football understands. Can the Premier League handle Messi, or is Messi about to redefine the Premier League itself? Behind the scenes, negotiations are tense, numbers flying, decisions heavy. Because this isn't about money, it's about one last challenge, one last statement to the doubters who said he can't do it there. And let's be honest, imagine it. Messi threading passes through brick wall defences, Messi silencing away crowds, Messi dancing past defenders who grew up watching him on posters. Goosebumps already. This move, if completed, won't just shake England, it will rewrite football history. Rivalries will explode, jerseys will sell out, and every weekend will feel like a final. So stay locked in, because if this deal goes through, we're not just watching football anymore. We're witnessing the next chapter of a legend who refuses to slow down. Lionel Messi's potential loan move to the Premier League carries a weight far heavier than a normal transfer story because it directly challenges how his football legacy has been defined for nearly 2 decades. For years, Messi has been synonymous with La Liga, where his brilliance reshaped Spanish football and turned weekly matches into global events. Records fell like dominoes, defenders were left frozen, and stadiums expected magic every time he touched the ball. Yet alongside the praise came a persistent narrative, whispered by critics and shouted by rivals, that his greatness was shaped by comfort, familiarity, and a league tailored to his style. A Premier League move threatens to silence that argument forever or give it new fuel, which is exactly why the stakes feel historic. The Premier League represents a different universe of footballing culture. It is faster, more physical, less forgiving, and relentlessly intense. Matches come thick and fast, referees allow more contact, and every team believes they can upset giants on any given weekend. For Messi, stepping into this environment would mean leaving behind not just Spain, but the idea of predictability. There would be no emotional safety net, no long-established system built around him, no guarantees of space or time on the ball. Every performance would be judged instantly, every quiet game magnified, every moment of genius dissected across continents. This is why a successful Premier League chapter could elevate Messi's legacy into untouchable territory. He's already proven he can dominate with elegance, intelligence and creativity, but England would demand resilience, adaptation and leadership under pressure. Winning duels against aggressive midfielders, surviving tight defensive blocks and delivering decisive moments in hostile away grounds would show a different dimension of his greatness. It would confirm that his football intelligence transcends leagues, styles and cultures, reinforcing the idea that true legends do not depend on environments, they transform them. They are. At the same time, the risk is undeniable. Failure or even perceived underperformance would be weaponized by critics who have waited years for this moment. A few difficult matches could overshadow decades of dominance in the eyes of casual observers. That tension between glory and scrutiny is what gives this potential move its dramatic power. Messi would not just be playing matches, he would be playing against a narrative that has followed him his entire career. Yet history suggests that Messi thrives when challenged. Time and again, moments of doubt have preceded periods of reinvention, whether adapting his role as he aged, carrying teams during transitions, or delivering when pressure peaked. He has repeatedly reshaped expectations. A Premier League loan would be another reinvention, one that reframes his career from a story of sustained excellence in one league to a broader tale of universal mastery. If Messi succeeds in England, even briefly, the conversation around his legacy shifts permanently. It would no longer be about where he played most of his football, but about how his talent bent every footballing environment it entered. It would validate the idea that greatness is not confined by geography or playing style, but driven by vision, timing, and an unshakable hunger to compete at the highest level. But as negotiations intensify around Lionel Messi's potential loan move to the Premier League, Barcelona and Madrid find themselves in an unusual position, watching from opposite sides of history, while sharing the same sense of unease. For Barcelona, Messi is not just a player involved in transfer talks. He's the embodiment of an era, a symbol of identity, and a reminder of both glorious triumphs and painful financial realities. Every discussion involving his future reopens emotional wounds for the club and its supporters, because Messi's name still carries the weight of what Barcelona once were and what they are still trying to become. The idea of him leaving the Spanish stage entirely, even temporarily, feels like another chapter in a story they never wanted to end this way. Behind closed doors, Barcelona's leadership faces a delicate balancing act. On one hand, there is respect for Messi's legacy and an understanding of his desire for new challenges. On the other, there is the harsh reality of finances, squad planning and long-term rebuilding. Allowing Messi to explore a Premier League loan could ease certain pressures, while also acknowledging that the club no longer revolves around him as it once did. That acceptance, however practical, carries emotional weight because it signals a final step away from an era where Messi was the unquestioned heartbeat of the club. Madrid's perspective is different, but no less tense. For Real Madrid, Messi has always represented the ultimate rival, the player who repeatedly disrupted their dominance and defined an entire generation of Clásicos. Watching him potentially leave the La Liga battlefield removes a familiar enemy, but it also stirs uncomfortable questions about the league's global appeal. Messi's presence elevated every title race, every derby, and every international broadcast involving Spanish football. His departure would not just alter competitive dynamics, but also shift global attention away from a league that Madrid has worked hard to keep at the centre of the footballing universe. There is also a subtle competitive pride at stake. Madrid have long positioned themselves as the ultimate destination for football's greatest stars, yet Messi's journey unfolded entirely outside their grasp. Seeing him head to England instead of remaining within the Spanish narrative is a reminder that football power is no longer centralised. The Premier League's pull, financial strength and global visibility challenge the traditional hierarchy that clubs like Madrid helped build. As talks continue, both Barcelona and Madrid are aware that this move is bigger than one player. It represents a shift in influence where decisions are driven less by historic rivalries and more by global strategy and personal ambition. Fans on both sides debate what it means for La Liga's future, while executives analyse how to adapt in a football landscape that is evolving fast than ever. The tension lies not in open conflict, but in shared uncertainty. As two giants watch a familiar figure potentially exit their stage, leaving behind a league forced to redefine its identity without one of its greatest protagonists, the Premier League stands as the most demanding proving ground in modern football. And for Lionel Messi, a potential move there represents the ultimate test of his enduring greatness. This is not simply another league or another set of opponents. It is an environment built on relentless intensity, where reputation offers no protection and every match feels like a battle. For years, the Premier League has branded itself as unforgiving, physical and brutally competitive, a place where even the world's best must adapt quickly or risk being overwhelmed. For Messi, stepping into this arena late in his career turns the challenge into something far deeper than trophies or statistics. The physical nature of English football is often exaggerated, but its psychological demands are undeniable. Games come at a furious pace, with little time to recover, reflect or reset. One week brings a title contender, the next a relegation fighter playing with desperation and nothing to lose. For Messi, accustomed to controlling rhythm and space, this would require a recalibration of his instincts. He would face defenders eager to test him, midfielders pressing relentlessly, and crowds that thrive on disrupting visiting stars. Every touch would be contested, every decision rushed, every moment scrutinised. What makes this challenge uniquely compelling is timing. Messi is no longer the teenager sprinting past defenders with explosive pace, but a master craftsman relying on intelligence, vision and timing. The Premier League would test whether footballing intelligence can still dominate in a league defined by speed and athleticism. Adapting to compact defences, counter-pressing systems and tactical flexibility would demand constant evolution. Managers rotate squads aggressively, opponents prepare detailed plans, and physical fatigue accumulates rapidly, turning consistency into the hardest currency of all WR. There is also the cultural shift. Stadiums in England carry a raw energy that feeds off chaos and momentum. Away matches feel hostile, weather conditions can change games entirely, and media attention is relentless. For Messi, this would mean performing under a spotlight that never dims, where every action is replayed, debated, and judged within minutes. Silence after a missed chance or an unexpected loss would be louder than any criticism, fueling narratives that follow players week after week. Yet this is precisely why the Premier League could become Messi's most defining chapter. It offers a stage where greatness must be proven repeatedly, not through isolated moments, but through sustained influence, creating chances against low blocks, deciding tight matches with a single touch, and leading teammates through chaotic STR. Etches would demonstrate a form of leadership different from his past roles. Success here would not rely on familiarity or comfort, but on adaptability and resilience. The Premier League does not care about past glories, and that indifference is what makes it the ultimate challenge. For Messi, accepting it would signal a refusal to coast on reputation, a desire to confront doubt head-on, and an ambition to test his limits against football's most demanding ecosystem, where legends are not protected by history but defined by how they survive. The presenter move of this magnitude would ripple far beyond Lionel Messi himself, sending shockwaves through global football rivalries and reshaping how fans engage with the sport. Messi's presence has always acted like a gravitational force, pulling attention, emotion, identity toward wherever he plays. If that force shifts to the Premier League, the balance of football culture tilts with it. Historic rivalries that once defined eras could fade into memory, while new ones ignite with unprecedented intensity, driven by weekly clashes, viral moments, and worldwide debate. The Premier League already thrives on storytelling, but Messi would elevate those narratives into something larger than sport. Traditional rivalries would gain a new dimension as opposing fans unite, not in support but in collective anticipation of stopping one man. Stadiums that once focused on local grudges would now host global spectacles, with millions tuning in, not just to see who wins, but to see how Messi influences the match. Every fixture involving his team would feel like an event, blurring the line between league football and global entertainment. This shift would also redefine how fans connect with clubs. Supporters from regions far beyond England would adopt new allegiances driven by Messi's presence rather than geography or tradition. Shirts would change colours in distant cities, watch parties would form across time zones, and social media conversations would orbit around Premier League weekends. Rivalries would no longer be confined to city borders or national history. They would become global debates, fueled by highlights, statistics, and endless comparison. For La Liga, the impact would be equally transformative. Without Messi as a central figure, the league would face the challenge of reinventing its global image. Long-standing rivalries, particularly those tied to his era, would lose a key emotional anchor. This absence would force Spanish football to push new stars, new narratives, and new reasons for global audiences to stay engaged. In contrast, the Premier League would consolidate its position as football's dominant cultural export, reinforcing its appeal as the stage where legends are tested and narratives are amplified. On a competitive level, Messi's arrival would raise standards across the league. Opponents would adjust tactics, defenders would refine their positioning, and managers would innovate to neutralize his influence. These adjustments would not just target Messi, but elevate the overall tactical sophistication of matches. Younger players would measure themselves against him, learning from his movement, decision-making, and calm under pressure, while veterans would find renewed motivation in competing against one of the game's greatest figures. Fan culture itself would evolve, debates would intensify, comparisons would multiply, and football discourse would become even more polarised. Messi's performances would be dissected not just for results, but for symbolism. Each goal or assist interpreted as evidence in larger arguments about leagues, eras, and greatness. The sport thrives on emotion, and this move would inject fresh fuel into conversations that span continents, generations, and identities, altering how rivalries are formed, sustained, and remembered in the modern game. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe